So, like, to start off with the qualifier, it was going into qualifier, we're like, okay, this is pretty good. You know, we know the 4 teams that are probably going to qualify. Hype Unit can make a upset run, probably get into the top 4 too. We go into the first day, everything looks kind of normal, right? There was a close set between Renegades and All Business. A lot of people thought that could happen, and everything else was usually a stomp. SSG had a little bit of a rough time. We had a really good set versus Hype Unit Console, which we thought was a pretty scary team going into qualifier.
Initial stage, we had Hype Unit. We did really well. Hype Unit Console was more respected than Hype Unit's PC. Not to be like disrespectful to PC or anything like that. They were just more in the unknown category. They were like fresh in like, not as in players, but just the uniqueness of like the console drafting and how console plays. We did really well, so I was happy. I don't really see myself ever losing to a console team, but it's that second thought, right? Having that mental collapse that, holy we're playing as a console team, we really just don't want to lose and look like boosted animals, pretty much.
Then day 2 happens and everything kind of collapsed as a team. So teamwork wise, like, was A+, perfect on everyone playing the first day. Second day comes around and everyone kind of forgets what they're supposed to do and just panics, right? Like, one person panics, which makes another person panic, and we did not have identity that day versus Kenga. And you kind of saw that in our second set versus console, where we just weren't playing well. We didn't play as a team. We weren't following up on each other. We were doing dumb playmaking, dumb calls. There were so many dumb things, dumb drafts. The second day of qualifiers was really rough for us. So many things just took a tumble, and it was just a collapsing tower, basically.
Then we played against Kenga, and everything just kind of went south. We obviously went into the set expecting us to do well and win, but nothing really went like our way. It was just struggle all across the board. People were playing on different tempos, different paces. We weren't utilizing each other. It was literally like you either made a miracle play, won that point fight, or you lost.
Really early, I think he's afraid of Overpower, but Overpower wasn't up. It's going to be up just in time for the Earthen Guard to go down.
Oh,
and
there it is!
Through the wall as well, hit him right before it came up. No point tank. I don't know what Knights can do to hold this point.
They don't have a DPS either. I don't even know if they have a chance to be able to defend against Kenga Esports as they push this one in and qualify themselves. Kenga Esports.
Going into our next set right after that, after losing against Kang, we went against Flashpoints, and that's the breaking point where we realized we are playing awful. Again, no disrespect towards consoles. It was just clear as day that we weren't utilizing anybody. We weren't using tanks, we were using DDs, we weren't using support. It was just everything was just individual ranked like performance, pretty much.
Gravitas behind it.
Where are you guys' sights kind of set for quarters? Like, how important is the seeding moving into the top 8 for you?
Honestly, there's not really too much in my mind about the seeding. It's more about just making sure we're on the upward trend as a team more so than our placement.
I don't think we could play any worse than we did today, so I think blue skies ahead.
We have a 24-hour break, right? We are first set into Renegades. First sets are usually rough for us. 11 o'clock is early for some of us on the team. And we're against Renegades. We have a very, very good standing against them throughout the whole entire year. I think we were 4-0. We gave maybe like 4 maps the entire year, which is, you could say, pretty good against a team going 16-4. But showing up that day, it was the same problems that we had day 2. We panicked, we didn't work as a team, we didn't follow up on the drafts that we practiced, and everything was just miscombobulated, and we just didn't play like the Pittsburgh Knights that day. It just was, everything was off. It wasn't a single individual player's fault. It was just us as a team and us trusting and us panicking instead of trusting each other.
Sadly enough, we didn't really have time to recuperate from it, and we had to just straight up play against Renegades right after, which means that we had to just go with the flow and just hope that stuff goes our way, and then we got 3-0'd by Renegades. And by that point, I don't think Pittsburgh has ever lost against Renegades, even with the old roster. I think they have once or twice close sets of 4-3s, but that's like a completely different story. Like losing against Renegades, we then just had to have a team strat. That day after the qualifiers, we sat down and talked immediately what was happening. We realized that we weren't literally doing anything. We were just playing ranked. It was just us playing fun ranked time, but instead of having fun, we were just frustrated. We were confused, didn't understand what was happening.
Good luck. Good luck.
As soon as we went against Navi, it was a completely different world for most of the players in Pittsburgh's. People were the usual self, but it felt like mentality changed dramatically. And Paladins, people might say that it might not be a mental game. Pressure is obviously up there, but most of the fights, most of the points are a lot on pressuring the enemy team. And since we were all not really thinking about that, like, oh shit, if we lose this, we're out. We were always thinking about best of one. If we win, that's great. But we have to finish the set strong. We don't care about losing, but at the same time we do. And that was like the immediate like change the mentality and perspective of like how we played together as well, because now we realize is on the stake. Like there's nothing that we can just breathe by, hope the shit goes well. We had to calm, we had to be our best, we had to do this with each other, and that day we had our most convincing performance yet.
So after losing that day, everyone just was devastated, right? We just lost against probably the worst team in the tournament that we're about to be in. And now we're going to play against the best, the people that thought was going to crush the tournament, right? Everyone was looking at Navi like they're beating NIP, they're beating VP, they weren't losing to anyone. Going into that day, we had a very good plan, and it worked out really well. The first game, we lost. We kind of knew going into it that Jaguar was going to be the first pick. We had a draft in mind, but it just didn't work out. Happens, it's Paladins. Going into the second game, had a clean game. Third game, we threw so hard, and it sucks. But the fact that we were able to like mentally stay together and like be prepared to like last out throughout this whole set after being 1-2 down was just good, because that third map was ours. We were 3-0 up. We had the better late game comp. We just misplayed it over and over again, which is unfortunate. And we weren't able to push it in when we should have. Going into the fourth game though, it was a pretty close game. I don't remember what map the fourth game was, but it was kind of close. But I do remember fifth and sixth games. The fifth game was Ascension Peak. We gave them Io, which is a scary pick. And knowing after Worlds, Io is just a god character, right? Had an insane win rate going into qualifiers, had an insane win rate at Worlds. It was like 90% or something like that. So like we gave them a very strong pick, but we knew how to beat that pick, and we played our comp exactly how we needed to play it. And that fifth game, we looked like gods, and Navi kind of looked a little lost. And going into that sixth game, I think a lot of people on the team knew that the sixth game was going to be hard, but we knew that we were going to go to Worlds. We were going to go play on the big stage, and we were all pumped for it.
Ebony holding down the angle, back in the base. Mutu dodge rolls himself out, try to rejoin the fight. Phoenix getting chipped away at. Midnight now used from Simpslu to move themselves forward. Lazy grabs the overpower, throws one off. They're able to get the kill onto Zarini, but 9 seconds left. Ninu into the ice block to try to keep Not a Spencer in this game. He gets deleted. Pittsburgh Knights looking to roll their way in once Luna goes down. May have bought enough time. It does as Phoenix rejoins the fight.
Just doing anything and everything they can. Lazy's back. He's going to help melt down Ricardo with the help of Phoenix. They're staying alive, but Mutu, he's the one that goes down next.
Wow, Luna buys enough time for the rest of Not a Spencer to rejoin this fight. Phoenix solo one more time. Zarini grabs the kill. They're chipping away at the health bars of Not a Spencer. Lazy still alive behind his shield, not long enough. Overtime still on right now. Ninu goes down. The rest of Not a Spencer starting to come back out of spawn, but it's not enough. Pittsburgh Knights roll the payload in, and that is a 4-0.
We making this a set, boys. We making this a set.
It's the biggest mid fight of the season for both of these two teams. First kill, traded out One apiece for either side, 27% and climbing, make it 30 for the Pittsburgh Knights. Simsalou, Ricotta, both finding kills. They're still holding on to their ultimates. It's one more clean sweep, potentially one more zone for the semifinals.
G-Bunny just respawned. By the time he gets back, that overpower is going to be available. Ice Storm comes out. Cuss is just fishing for some shots.
I'm not sure.
But they still have exactly what they need.
84,
one free kill on the board.
87, 90% for the Pittsburgh Knights. They're looking for the zone. 99%. Are they in range? They're not. Pittsburgh Knights. Knock out your number 1 seed, and they're going to the semifinal.
And going into the Evi set, we played pretty well. We definitely had a lot of mistakes. I think the stage was something else. Like, oh my god, the nerves that you get on stage, the fact that everyone's looking at you, you hear the crowd, and like you kind of hear like the casters in the background. It does hit you a different way than being in a room with just your teammates, right? It was a surreal experience, and I loved that experience so much.
It was a crazy feeling. We went against the reigning world champions on the first time on stage for many of our team, me included. I did not know how I was going to feel. I did not know what I was going into even. Like, but I've heard that the sound was going to be really, really bad on stage. Like, you could not hear the game at all, which was true. I would get call ulted and I wouldn't hear the call ult. I would just have the, oh, he call ulted me, I'm seeing it, you know. And that was pretty rough, but going up against Envy was like nerve-wracking. But we kind of 4-0'd them in the PPL, like in the last week of PPL, so we knew we had a decent shot at beating them, even though stage is, playing on stage is way different than at the studio, and it's not as comfortable for us, so.
What we might see is a mid-fight gone wrong for Envy if that's the case, but that's pretty much important on where Cuss is going to be standing.
Well, here it is, ladies and gentlemen. One final mid-fight to decide who goes to the World Finals. You got Envy, you got Knights. Only one will escape and move on to tomorrow. Pittsburgh Knights, they're early on this aggression here. Envy, they pull all the way back. Nobody left. Really to fight back on that mid. Dome shield drop down now from Toki. He finds the first kill of this round, but it's a double kill from G-Bunny. Puts the Pittsburgh Knights in a great spot. That's 3 now for the Turtle. Pittsburgh Knights, they're in control.
And look how far back Rock Monkey's pushed. He's forced to run back to the base. Simsalou has been zoning him this entire time. That's 60% for the Knights, and they're maintaining control.
Envy, they need one last chance to maybe fight back into it. 81% and climbing, make it 84. The zone is in. The biggest fight of the year now from the Pittsburgh Knights. Random noob, he goes in, he's in the ice block. Overtime melting away. A double kill from Ricotta might just seal this one up. Rubu, he has to pull himself back. You still have a chance if your team Envy. Enlightenment flies through, doesn't connect. That's 3 kills for Ricotta. The Pittsburgh Knights, they're going to the final.
We got a crazy good series against them. At the end, like being 3-3 in maps and 3-3 on Frog Out, 1 more point to go. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy to win. It felt so good.
That's where I definitely would say mental shifted a lot. Now, people consider themselves as underdogs going into MV, but now we went against NIP. People definitely changed their mindset, and that affected that set a lot. People were thinking, we have to win, we have to do this. I want that, trophy, I want that ring, we want to take this home. And obviously when you're so close, your mindset and mentality especially will change. But in our team, that was the thing that destroyed us over the time, especially in that set. Having like really high confidence, first and second game, that showed. But that confidence slowly overtook drafts, it slowly overtook our plays, and the set completely changed from that point forward. We tried to reset on a Bright Marsh, but we didn't win the set, or that game specifically. So we never got that reset point that we needed. And that game that we could have gotten a reset point, who knows what happened after. That Bright March could have literally been like any closer. It was just that one fight that they won that ended the entire set. Who would have known that the last game of that set would go, momentum always would have been on our side, like crazy amount of momentum, considering that we were getting absolutely obliterated prior to that. But we never got there. It was just that hiccups earlier that really screwed us, mental shift, and that ultimately led us to get second place in my mind.
Going into the finals though, that was looking like a really good set. First two games, cleanly for us, I would say. Stonekeep was definitely a little bit up in the air, but we knew what we were messing up on. We knew what we needed to change, and we changed it well, right? We had a really good meta execution for the 3-3. We had a lot of good individual plays too, and we were able to take the second map. Going into the third map, we had a pretty good draft, you could say. There was definitely some strengths to them, and there was a lot of strengths to our comp too. But it was unfortunate that in the, I think it was the third mid on the 2-2, me and Simslu kind of got 100-0, both of us. It was, I don't want to say unlucky, but it was unlucky. But me and him both got 100-0. I was 4k HP, I had my cooldowns up, but Willow Shot, Seedlings, plus a Lianal instantly bursted me and Sims. We would have won that mid if we would have just got the Lianal and lived, but didn't happen. They ended up pushing through. Then throughout the rest of the set, there was a lot of, I would say almost like emotional / panic problems that happened. Drafting, we were a little bit off. So the next two games, I would just say, like, it just wasn't us being us. And I think that was part of our biggest problem going into this tournament and throughout the split, is just when we aren't playing like the Pittsburgh Knights, we just aren't a good team, right? We have to play like we're aggressive, we have big egos, and if we don't do that, we are going to lose. Going into the sixth game though, we had that ego back. We played aggressive, we made plays, and we did our best, but it didn't work out. Nip was playing really good that day. They had a really good plan, and sad to say, but we lost in the finals. Well, it sucks that there was around 40 players in the PPL, right? There was 8 teams, 5 players on each team. 40 people that put everything into Paladins, that put their lives back at home on the line. They dropped it all, and they put their passion into Paladins, and it showed. Every single team cared about showing up on game day, showing up in Atlanta, showing up and playing their heart out. And I don't think there was a single player in PPL that didn't emotionally invest themselves into Paladins. I think it showed. I think we had very good viewership. We had so much support by the fans. There was so many fans at HRX too that like came up to us, and it was crazy seeing them. And I was very, very glad to meet those people, take pictures with them, or sign whatever. It just sucks that next year that's not possible anymore. You can't really put your passion into Paladins. It's not smart to do. It's not a thing you can really do. Even this year wasn't great, right? Like, we were living and we were making money, but like we were like kind of going even, right? Like this wasn't the smart thing to do. It was a thing that we did this out of passion. We did this for the sport. We did this for the game. And we did it for the fans. But next year, sadly, we can't invest our time into it, or it just isn't valuable. We can't do that, and it sucks. I really wish Hi-Rez would put more resources into Paladins. I think they have something special in their game, but they just have to be willing to take a risk for it, I think.